Morning everybody, Mike Niemiec here with some early morning grain and oilseed comments for Thursday, December 5th. A little bit of a defensive night in the grain and oilseed trade. We got the wheat market down roughly a nickel, the corn market down 4 cents, the bean market's down 3, meal down 50 cents, and the soybean oil market around 10 points. The markets right now, well, we had a few numbers that came out over the past few days. Let's start with Canada yesterday, coming out with a bigger than expected wheat and canola crop. We had Australia the day before coming out with larger wheat and canola crops as well. We had Informa in the middle of the week talking about world production numbers being strong versus what we had been seeing. The FAO came out last night, that being the UN's food agency, talking about how they're looking at cereal stocks and cereal production being up on the year. We're going to have a USDA report coming out next week, and we'll find out that once again we're not really tightening up our supply and or carryout numbers that greatly at this point in time. South America is okay at this juncture. Their basis levels are getting a little bit weaker as the anticipation of the bean and the meal crops that are going to be forthcoming will be sufficient to supply the world demand. We've also seen where China's been somewhat a little bit on the defensive as far as taking inventory, corn in particular. So you put these all together in somewhat of a non-bullish environment. And as a result, that keeps us in the mentality in here of trying to sell rallies and or resistance areas and still getting away from what we had been seeing over the past 3 to 5 years, that being this money flow they wanted to be on the long side, be it as a result of world production problems and or the strong demand, which really hasn't gone away all that much, but just we found more suppliers and once again trying to rebuild stocks, keeping the market somewhat in a defensive tone. The EPA is going to have a meeting today between the ag industry and the oil companies, and they're going to be talking about how the mandates are expected to be somewhat slashed. They'll be discussing on the merits of this, but at this point in time it just seems like the ethanol growth that we've been seeing over the past 5 years has been sitting somewhat of a quote-unquote blending wall, in a way not able to advance any further. Once again, another key ingredient that kept the markets alive over the past 5 years that's kind of going on the wayside. We'll have export sales out this morning in another 10 minutes, and that should show if we're continuing to do business in the near term, but doesn't look all that bright down the road. And obviously people will be keeping an eye on what China's been doing over the past week with the talk of them canceling U.S. corn boats and or the potential of trying to wash out U.S. bean sales. So once again, not much of a bright picture, a non-bullish environment. Once again, these are my opinions, not that of ADM or ADMIS.